Welcome, Taful Charawat, Ayin, Namaste, Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to this broadcast from the University of Limerick, where we hope to be able to answer your questions about what it will be like to study and live at the university in the new academic year. We know that these are difficult times with continuing uncertainty about the impact of COVID-19, but at the same time, we know that you want to continue with your academic studies. We're here to help you succeed as students and enjoy your time at university, while at the same time ensuring your health and well-being. My name is Professor Nigel Healey, and I'm the Associate Vice President Global Engagement at the University of Limerick. And I'm joined by a team of our senior academic and student leaders at the university. I'd like to introduce them one by one. First, our Vice President Academic, Professor Kerstin May. Our Associate Vice President Student Engagement, Professor Patrick Ryan. Our Student Union President, Cian Quinlan, who's a third-year undergraduate student reading Gaelic Irish and politics. Our Dean of Graduate and Professional Studies, Professor Ledwith, and our Vice President Research, Professor Norelee Kennedy. So we know that our prospective students have many questions regarding September, and we're seeking to answer what we can for you to hear today, while acknowledging that this is an ever-changing situation. The Irish government has managed the crisis well, and our business and society are steadily reopening. But we are being cautious to minimise the risk of a further outbreak. And everything the university does is in line with government guidelines, and the safety of our students is our top priority. Our future students have sent in a huge number of questions that they would like our panelists to answer. So the way we'll do this is I will ask each of the panelists in turn to introduce themselves and give a brief overview of their function at the university, and then ask them on behalf of you, our viewers, specific questions that have been sent in. So let's begin, and we'll start with our Vice President Academic, Professor May. Professor May, can you just give our viewers an overview of where we are at present at the university?
Thank you very much, Nigel. The university has worked very hard to prepare the campus for opening in September. We will start our academic year on the 28th of September, and we will have an orientation and induction for students who come on campus. For most students, orientation and induction will be provided online and will be followed up with orientation events when they are on campus. We have to adhere to government public health advice, and that is that we are planning to operate our campus at this point in time on a 2-meter social distancing operation. That means that we have to space out all our classrooms to allow for 2-meter distance between students and staff, because the safety of our students and staff is of paramount importance. But we are also preparing for a 1-meter distance approach should the government policy change over the next period of time. So what will we be doing? We will be offering all our programs online. That is, all content is available online, but you will have face-to-face teaching on campus. That means that lab work, practicals, competency-based learning will take place on campus as far as that is possible. And should we have to switch because the situation changes, you can access your entire program online. And our staff will do their very best to provide a very interactive experience in the virtual space, as they will do when you are on campus learning face-to-face. In terms of health and safety measures, we will be operating with masks. So all students and staff will be wearing masks when they are on campus. And we will have our corridors and passageways arranged in a way that we can support a safe passing of different student cohorts. In terms of supporting health and safety, we rotate our student cohorts on campus by year. That allows us to both safeguard a social bubble approach, i.e. limit the contact amongst students and staff. And we will also introduce a circuit break. That means that you will be a week on campus and then 2 or 3 weeks off campus, depending which year you are in. But during all the period, your lessons will be scheduled so that we provide structure to your learning. And you have the advantage that you can always go back to your material to repeat and deepen the knowledge and skills that you're acquiring in your program. And last but not least, we've done a staff and student survey to learn from our transition into the virtual space during the spring semester. And that learning will be used in order to deliver very high quality programs to all students who come to UL to learn with us.
Okay, thank you for that very helpful overview. We've got some detailed questions that have come in from applicants, which I think you've touched on, but I'd like to just explore a bit further. When the university reopens in September, one of the questions from new students, first year students and postgraduates is, will I be on campus at the start of the year?
Yes, first year undergraduate students and first year postgraduate students will be on campus during week 1, and they will return to campus periodically to have face-to-face learning. But of course, the time on campus is more than just the learning. It's also about socializing, participating in student life events, using the library, playing sports, etc. So there will be a rich program around the learning on campus.
So another question we've had from students is that they're confused about the term blended learning. So can you explain for our viewers, what do we mean by blended learning?
When we use the term blended learning, we mean a mix between face-to-face learning, that is learning on campus in the classroom, and learning in the virtual space through assessing your program online, interacting with your lecturers online and with your peers online. So we are not planning to just put contents on the internet, but have live sessions with your tutors and your peers so that you can continue your social learning experience whilst you're in the virtual space. So it's a hybrid approach between physical encounter and virtual learning.
Okay, another question we've got is from a student who's applied for a science program with a large amount of lab work. Are courses like that going to go ahead?
Yes, all our courses that have lab work or any other practicals will go ahead, and we will concentrate in the face-to-face learning on campus on the lab work or the practical sessions so that students can acquire the respective skills.
Thank you. And we have some students who are concerned about being on campus because of health reasons. So are students required to be on campus to study during the face-to-face teaching weeks?
In general, we would like to see all students on campus, but of course, if students have underlying health problems or other issues, they will be able to make these reasons known and take part in their programs through virtual learning. Okay.
All right, thank you very much. I think you've covered that very well. Thank you. We have another group of questions now which have come really for me as the Associate Vice President Global Engagement, that's looking after the international applicants. The first of these is students have sent in a question saying, I'm considering making an application for September 2020. But with COVID-19, is the university still accepting applications from international students? The answer to that one is yes. The revised closing date for applications is the 21st of July. That's to ensure that you have time to apply for a student visa, but that is still 2.5 weeks away. So if you're considering application, there's still plenty of time. We have another question. Should I apply if I'm currently not able to leave my country? And we know that some countries still have travel restrictions on students leaving. And the answer to that is yes. You can enroll in the program and you can start wholly online and then join us on campus when you're able to travel. The third question is, what support will be available before I arrive? And on this one, I think it's worth emphasising that the University of Limerick has an outstanding record on supporting international students. We rank #1 in the world for international student happiness. And we've got that reputation because we're very good at providing support for students from the point at which they apply right through to graduation. So once you apply, our team will be in contact with you very regularly by email and at the end of a video conferencing call, and we will hold your hand all the way through the process. We've had a very large number of questions about the current self-isolation requirements, and specifically, if I have to self-isolate, is safe accommodation available? So under the current public health regulations, international students will need to self-isolate for 14 days on arrival. The university has a very large number of self-contained student villages on our Parkland campus. The university has made arrangements for students to be able to self-isolate in one of our student villages on campus. There will be an option of meal deliveries to your room, and you'll be supported by a range of online activities to keep you occupied and introduce you to the services of the university during that period. And most importantly, if you choose to stay in university accommodation in your first year at UL, the accommodation during that 14-day self-isolation will be free of charge. Related question, what happens if I can't travel to Ireland straight away and have to start my studies online? Will I still be eligible for a work visa? The answer to that is yes, you will qualify for the stay back work visa, provided you start your program in person by the beginning of the second semester. So it is possible to start online and join at any point during the first semester or even at the end of the first semester and still qualify. And the final question is what's planned for international students in terms of orientation during the self-isolation period? We have developed a very extensive package of welcome and orientation activities for that 14 days of self-isolation. There will be a welcome pack available for you on arrival, and there will be a range of support services available online during that 2-week period. So we've tried to ensure that your arrival in Ireland is as safe and as smooth and as welcoming as possible. I'd like to move us on now and introduce our Associate Vice President Student Engagement, Professor Patrick Ryan, and just invite him to say a few words about the services that his part of the university will provide, and then we'll move on to some detailed questions.
Thank you, Nigel. So I'm Professor Patrick Ryan, and I'm the Associate Vice President for Student Engagement, and my job is to work with a huge number of very energetic and dynamic teams across the UL community who work to ensure that students have the best experience possible while they study at UL. And some of my work, for example, is involved in working with the well-being and support services, physical well-being, mental health well-being, disability support services. I also work with teams around engaged in work around transformative learning, where we take your skills and talents to ensure that we get the best from you and you get the best from us during your time on campus with us. I oversee the working of the cooperative placement and careers division, which is a big part of the student experience at the University of Limerick. And of course, one of my most important jobs is liaising with the Students' Union at the University of Limerick, which is known as Student Life, so that we can work together to ensure that you get the best of both your academic and learning experiences, as well as your social and socializing experiences. So all in all, a very energetic, dynamic and vibrant brief.
Well, thank you, Patrick. I've got some quite detailed questions that have come in from students. The first one is, what can incoming students expect in their first few days on campus?
So on the first few days on campus, what we're planning to do is to bring to life for you in a very real way a lot of what you might have experienced from us in the preceding weeks, where we'll be online making contact with you, to ensure that you're starting to begin the transition away from home and to come and study with us. So, for example, prior to coming on campus, we'll have engaged with you and linked with you around giving you some virtual tours of various parts of the campuses, talking to you a little bit about your program of study, and ensuring that some of the administrative tasks around your enrollment and us having all your details so we can stay in contact with you are all in place. And when you actually arrive, you'll arrive to a campus that's opened and will be staffed by our academic and administrative staff, who will ensure that you start to get a sense of the place that we hope you'll call home for the following years of your study. While you're with us on campus, there will be obviously some in-class experiences, there will be some virtual experiences, there'll be a lot of encounters online with people who have studied on your program previously. We'll have a suite of online facilities and teams who will help you learn things, for example, like how to use the library at UL. We will have some online instructional facilities to show how the virtual learning environment works in UL and how you'll be able to engage with that and interact with it in a way that will enhance your study time with us. And it could be as simple as just you engaging with us in those first few days around some of the support services that we have in UL. For example, particularly given the pandemic that's on at the moment, how to stay physically well, how to stay mentally well in your time with us. And we will have both virtual and online experiences, as well as real life humans to talk to you and chat with you and engage with us over those first couple of days, which are a time of transition. So there will be lots of things that may seem a little bit stressful, but we're there to provide as much of that support as we can, both in the virtual space and in the real space when you're actually on campus with us.
Well, thanks for that. And just moving on, some of the students have heard about the first 7 weeks program. So specifically they're asking, how is that going to work?
So our first 7 weeks program is a UL unique initiative where in normal times what we would do over the first 7 weeks of semester 1 is engage our first years and our new students to campus around a range of experiences, from things like nutrition and well-being to using the library to meeting their advisors on campus, so that they get a sense of how to become part of the learning community. And what we've decided to do this year is to really take the foundational parts of that first 7 weeks program and extend it right through the first semester and indeed into the next semester as well, so that we give every student across the university from first year to fourth year and all our postgrad students the opportunity to engage with us around a range of, we might call them mini modules, that will serve to enhance their experience and also provide many more opportunities to directly engage with their staff on their course of study, with their peers. We'll have a lot of peer learning opportunities. We're working very closely with our colleagues in the student union around social activities. So first 7 weeks is going to become something that's extended right through the semester, so that there are plenty of opportunities for people to engage with what's available. And we understand that some people naturally come to a new environment, a new campus, and they're very energized by that and jump in with the 2 feet and get going. More of us, including myself, we're a little bit slow to come into this. It takes us time to get our sense of the place. So what first 7 weeks will do over the course of the semester is give people multiple opportunities to engage across all of the types of experiences that UL offers in a normal academic year.
Fantastic. Now, there's a question now that I think has come in many times in different forms, and I think quite a number of students are concerned about this. And the question is, how will I make friends on my course?
So again, we will have both formal and informal activities that will support this. This is a normal concern for anybody that moves into a new place, a new city, into a new institution, and indeed for many students coming onto a program that they may have never studied in real detail before. So we engage large numbers, over 150 students, who become peer supports and peer leaders for students coming on campus, and that means that students will be have access to somebody who has either studied on their program or who has been through the university systems, and will be able to guide them towards how to find the spaces where we have lots of social engagement. And equally, our colleagues in student life will be engaged in developing a raft of social activities that will be well advertised prior to coming on campus, and then while the semester is running, so that there are opportunities to engage in social activities that we arrange through our clubs and societies. 10,000 of our students are registered members of clubs and societies, so it's a fantastic vehicle for socializing and developing friendships that we know last well after university life is over.
Thank you for that. And I'd like to just bring in our Dean of Graduate and Professional Studies for some observations on making friends in the virtual space.
Yeah, I think it's interesting, Nigel, because a lot of our young people are now doing an awful lot of their socialising online, and I think this is going to transfer into their education, and we're certainly going to facilitate that kind of sense of belonging to a class and getting to meet your classmates and your peers on a class. I think people have a kind of a conception of what online learning is like based on what we now call emergency remote teaching that started last March very, very suddenly when, like every other university, UL had to suddenly go online without the time to really prepare adequately for what that learning would look like. And it worked for us, and we got students through. And I think overall, we've, as Kerstin has mentioned, we've done reviews of the students' experience, and overall it was very positive. But what has happened since semester has ended is that our lecturers and our educational technologists have now put a lot of time into planning what that online experience is going to be like for students. And indeed, we have experience having run several fully online programs over the last number of years. So we will design our programs so that there is a lot of scaffolding for students. Students know what they should be doing at any one point in time. They know how they should be interacting with their lecturers, with their classmates. Our software technologies will allow small group work. So I'm not sure how many of you out there have experienced working in using tools like Big Blue Button, where you can actually get put into a smaller working group and come back to the main class. So we'll facilitate that kind of small group learning. We'll facilitate, as Patrick has said, social interaction between students where they can chat to each other online, where they can chat to their lecturers online. It's going to be a different experience, but I would say it's going to be, in some ways, it's going to be a no less sociable experience than sitting in a very, very large classroom with people that you haven't met before. So what I'd say to you is come along and visit us online, get involved with the lectures. I think it's going to be, overall, I think we're going to have a very positive experience for students in September.
Okay, thanks very much for that. And I'm just going to, I've got one more question for Patrick, if I may, and a number of students have sent questions like this in, and it's really coming from our Irish students who live outside Limerick. So the question is, what are the accommodation options on campus if I'm an Irish student and I'm only studying on campus 1 week on and then perhaps a couple of weeks online?
So all our models of accommodation offerings are currently under review, and we're looking at a number of very dynamic models in terms of what we can offer. And at the moment, what we're looking at being able to offer is both full-time accommodation and flexible accommodation. And these are very dynamic models that have to be worked out in great detail. And once we have that detail specified and tied down, we'll be able to communicate that directly and openly so that students can make decisions as they need to.
Okay, thanks. Thank you very much for that. And now we're going to turn to our Student Union President, newly elected, congratulations, Cian Quinlan, and he's just taken up this role. So I'd like to begin by inviting him to say a few words about the role of the Student Union. Many of our listeners won't be familiar with that, and some of the recent developments, particularly the decision to introduce a new sabbatical officer.
Yes, so hi everyone, my name is Cian Quinlan and I am the Student President of UL Student Life for the 2020-2021 academic year. So for those of you who don't know, Student Life is the representative body for all students here at UL, and Student Life Student Centre is the home for students on campus, and we are working extremely hard throughout the summer months to ensure there is no disruption to the various services UL Student Life offers throughout the year. So within UL Student Life, there's various different departments, ranging from events and engagement to student representation, which would oversee the class rep program and our student council. The two departments students tend to be most familiar with are the sabbatical officers and our clubs and societies department. So the sabbatical officers are the elected student representatives, which include me, your president, Pader, your welfare officer, Alison, your academic officer, and Chelsea as the newly elected communities officer. So the newly elected communities officer is a new role that's been introduced to basically take on a lot of the burden that was on the welfare officer and kind of split committees so that there is, so that we feel ourselves that students are being represented in the correct way and that there isn't a burden on either officers to get a lot of students from different communities and backgrounds on board. So all of the officers, I hope you can meet in due course, but we'll see how that goes. So we, the sabbatical officers, sit on a number of groups and committees that help govern the university. It is our job to represent the voice and concerns of students at these groups. Then we have our clubs and societies, and these are a huge part of the student community here at UL. These clubs and societies cover everything from archery to GAA and from music to outdoor pursuits. Again, we'll be working hard with these clubs and societies throughout the summer months to make sure there's no disruption to services and to get all of our students engaged when they hit the campus in September.
Okay, thanks for that. We've got a number of questions for you that relate to some of the things you've already picked up on. So one of the questions that's come in from a number of people is, will I be able to join clubs and societies in the way that I could in the past, and how will that work?
Yes, so we are working extremely hard to ensure new students' time at UL will be one of the best experiences of their lives. Many students may be concerned about Freshers Week and clubs and societies and how restrictions on face-to-face contact might pose as an issue as students come to our campus for the first time. We are committed to providing the best possible service to our students, and we are committed to providing the same excellent services and support to our students like we've seen in previous years. That'll be through a mix of both virtual interactions and face-to-face interactions where it is safe to do so. Our sabbatical officers are ready to take on the challenges that face us in the year ahead, and we'll be representing and supporting students as best as we can. There will be no disruption to how we operate and how we will represent, and we are working through the summer with the members of our clubs and societies to make sure those services are there and that they are going to be extremely creative in finding new ways that we can engage with our students. So we're going to look to exploring different virtual events and just different kind of virtual engagements that our clubs and societies can have for when students come in September, and what's the best way we can do that. We've had a meeting over the last a couple of meetings over the last few weeks, and we decided we're going to focus on what we can do and not what we can't, and we're going to keep that and push that and stay as positive as we can. The clubs and societies, as I said, have some extremely creative members from all different backgrounds, and they are really looking forward to recruiting new members this coming academic year. We are working on providing contactless payments as well, along with a virtual recruitment drive for students who wish to join a club or society remotely. And our clubs and societies want new members, and they are looking forward to meeting you all in September.
Thank you for that. Now, a sort of closely related question. University of Limerick is famous for its Freshers Week. Will there be a Freshers Week this year, and how will it work?
Yes, so we will also be working on developing a Freshers Week like never seen before. At the moment, we're brainstorming events, and we have lots of different ideas blended of virtual and physical. Some ideas that we've looked at is, you know, maybe outdoor movie nights where people can come in their pods from their different houses, and they can be socially distanced into house groups, and that way we can have, you know, different movie nights and just kind of events like that. And then we're also looking into the possibility of virtual live performances, so maybe teaming up with the likes of NUIG and UCC student unions, and getting in a big act, splitting the fees across 3 student unions, and then we'd have 3 different colleges that would have those performances available to them. There are various events that we are currently scoping and that will be working through the summer months to provide a mix of fun, creative and engaging events for all of our new students. There will be a mixture of events, as I said, both virtual and physical, where it is safe to do so. Regardless, we will host a Freshers Week that will be both exciting and engaging. So we build a great community with all of our students, new and existing. And as the summer progresses, we will have more certainty with regard to what we can and cannot do. So please stay up to date on our social media accounts so you know what to expect for the exciting semester to come.
Okay, thanks for that. And I hope some of those events will be open to academic staff as well. One last question, and we've heard the perspective from coming from student engagement and from postgraduate, but directly to you as a student representative, this question about making friends. Do you have a take on that?
Yeah, so, you know, coming to university for the first time, it's such a major transition and you want to kind of make as many friends as you can. I felt that's what I wanted to do and kind of build those new connections. And we do not want people to feel like they're losing out on that for, you know, with everything that's going on. So we are going to work on a lot of events within student life where we can allow people to interact with each other, maybe different group events, you know, where we'll run different campaigns with groups of individuals and they can meet different people through that. We're also looking at, say, you know, cooking workshops and stuff at residence halls in different student villages where they can meet the officers and people that can come and chat. And then we're looking at the likes of online quizzes where our student officers, you know, our chats with Sabats, as we like to call it, where people can join on in a group virtually, obviously, and mingle with us. And we can host quizzes maybe from our student centre where students can opt in and, you know, we'll have scores within a few days and everything like that. So there's going to be a lot of virtual engagement there and we'll be working very hard to make sure our students stay engaged and are meeting new people. Okay,
thanks for that. So congratulations again on your election. And if I was a student, I would have voted for you. Well done. I'm going to move us on now to graduate and professional studies. And so it's a question for our Dean, Professor Ledwith. And it's come directly from students. And the question is, should I continue with postgraduate study at this point?
Yeah, a good question. And my answer is yes, absolutely. I think there's an awful lot of uncertainty out in the employment market, particularly for recent graduates. Several industries have been hit very hard by the global pandemic. An example is the airline industry, where there have been announcements of cutbacks and redundancies. So for the past number of years, we've seen great opportunities for postgraduates. And unfortunately, I think some of those opportunities are being reduced at the moment because of the pandemic. So doing a postgraduate program is a really, really good idea at the moment. At UL, we always survey our incoming students, and one of the things we ask them is why did they decide to do a postgrad at UL? And absolutely top of their choice is that they want to improve their career perspectives, they want to improve their employability. And that is one thing that we can guarantee you will get from a postgraduate degree at UL. We work very closely with employers. We're very close to industry and what the skills needs are out there and what types of future skills employers are looking for. So our programs have all been designed to help you in your employment, to help you in your career progression. Examples of new programs that we have are our MSc in Business Analytics. We've got a new MSc in Machine Learning for Finance, a new MSc in Artificial Intelligence and Machine Learning. So we have our finger on the pulse with respect to where the employment opportunities are. So I think this is a really good time to start looking at a postgraduate program.
Okay, thanks for that. A question that you've touched on already, but I think because so many students have asked about it, we probably should come back and look at this, is how will it work? How will the online learning work at postgraduate level at UL?
Okay, so Kerstin, as you say, has already responded and given some details on this. So we're going to have a blended approach to learning for our postgraduate students, indeed for all of our students at UL. Our postgraduates are going to come in week 1, and I think this is very important for our postgraduates because in common with the first years, but unlike the other years, they won't have been to our campus before. They won't know what UL is like, how UL works. So they're coming in at the very, very start. They'll come in week 1, they will meet their lecturers, they'll meet their class, and it'll give them a chance to have an introduction to what UL is like, and also to get on top of some of the key concepts for their different modules. After that, they'll have 3 weeks online and then another week on campus, 3 more weeks online and then another week on campus. So it's basically going to be a 1 week on campus, 3 weeks learning online. I've spoken a little bit about that online experience. And I think one of the things that I'd want to stress is that it will be very much a supported, often called a scaffolded learning experience for students. So it's not going to be simply look at this lecture and come back in a week's time and there'll be another lecture. We've put a lot of work into designing online learning since semester finished, and indeed that work is continuing. So our online learning will be very engaging, students will be scaffolded. It's not we're hoping it won't be the isolating experience that I think some people maybe are afraid of. So when you're learning online, you will be part of student groups, you will be part of discussion forums, we'll be having events like this online, you'll be working in smaller groups. And I think what's important for postgraduates is that one of the things that we expect from postgraduates is that they will become independent learners. And in a way, this will make them independent learners. So our lecturers will develop and deliver the material in that sense, so that they will expect students to engage fully, but to become independent learners as they move through their programs.
Oh, thanks for clarifying that. And a question that's come up a number of times, and I think it's happened in other universities as well. Students are asking if my program was originally due to be face-to-face and now it's partly online, will I get a reduction in my fees? Yeah,
this is an interesting one, and I mean, as you say, a lot of different institutions have been discussing this and looking at it. There's a common misperception that online learning is a lot cheaper than face-to-face learning, and probably the cheapest way to deliver a lecture is to bring a whole pile of students together in a lecture theatre and stand one academic at the top to deliver material, but it's actually not always the best experience. What I've been describing over the last while is a much more student-focused educational experience. So we are putting a lot of time and effort into developing that experience for students. A lot of it is re-looking at what is our pedagogy, what is the experience for students as they work through modules, but we're also putting a lot of time into the tools, the technology tools that are going to support that. Online learning requires a lot more upfront planning and development than what we call traditional learning. And the one thing I can guarantee students is that this is not a cheap experience in any sense of the word.
All right, thank you for that. And finally, some students have expressed concern that they may not have the same access to funding they might have had before the crisis. Do they have any options?
Yeah, we have quite a number of payment options, and I won't go through the details of them here because that's difficult enough to do. What I would say is look at our website. We've got a tile on the Graduate and Professional Studies website online for scholarship fees and funding, and you'll find details there. So there are different payment options available to students if paying the full amount up front is going to be a problem for them. We have a range of funded programs, our Springboard funded programs and our Human Capital Initiative programs, and you'll find details of those on site, are fully funded. Students can apply for SUSI grants, that's a means tested grant, if they want to come and study with us. And there are also a range of different scholarships available from the different faculties. So rather than try and go into the details of all of that, what I would say to students is, yes, there are supports there. Have a look at our website and please contact us if you want to get any more details on any of those.
Great, well, thanks for that. So we've had a good chance to look at some of the questions that have been raised by new undergraduate students and new postgraduate students. University of Limerick is, of course, a research-intensive university, and a number of the new students that will be joining in September will be coming into doctoral programmes. So we're going to move finally to our Vice President Research, Professor Norelee Kennedy, and I'm just going to ask her to describe a little bit what's happening with our research laboratories and dedicated research facilities, and what's likely to be in place for September.
Thank you very much, Nigel. So when lockdown happened, our research moved entirely online, and obviously that was not something that was feasible long term for a number of our research, including our research that can only happen in laboratories. So people managed for the period of the lockdown, and since the restrictions have eased, we have moved to returning our research on campus. And this has been done with careful planning and engagement with our colleagues in buildings and estates and health and safety. Since the beginning of June, we've had a number of different laboratories return to research and participating in their research on campus. We're also working closely with our colleagues in the library to look at ways of having our students get access to special collections, for example. And we're also now looking at how our research that involves human participants can be returned in a safe way. So a lot of work has happened already, Nigel, and more is continuing to ensure that our students and our PhD students can return to their research in a safe way. Our plans won't stop, and obviously as the summer continues and more people come back on campus, we'll have to make sure that we have considered the breadth of what's going to happen on the campus. So we're working closely with the academic side of the house through the Space Management Committee to ensure a comprehensive approach on how our research is returning.
Okay, thank you for that. And I think in that overview, you've answered one of the questions that's come up a number of times, which is whether students will have access to the laboratories they need for their research. I think your answer to that is yes.
Yes.
A related question that comes up is from students who have underlying medical conditions. They want to begin to start their PhD or to progress their PhD, and that PhD will involve laboratory access. What support or advice is available for students who need access to laboratories but have medical conditions?
Okay, Nigel, I suppose I can give you some granularity about how it's happening in the laboratory, which will help answer this question. I suppose to start at the outset and say that absolutely any student who has any concerns about their health and underlying health conditions, working with us in the university and with Anne's group and with others in the university, we can put in place a plan for that person. So practically at the moment, to help maybe people think a little bit about that and what that might look like, at the moment access to the laboratories is on a very scheduled basis. So it's a reduced capacity. So we have people coming in from 7 o'clock in the morning until 2 o'clock, and another group coming in later in the day into later in the evening. And this is to allow a proper cleaning regime, for example, to happen. And we're also taking comprehensive records of who's in the building at all times, and there's lots of processes in place to manage this, and a very comprehensive cleaning regime. So that, I suppose, should indicate to people that there's a strong support in managing access and managing who's in the building. Also then, in a particular case like that, we could look at, for example, a dedicated time for a student who would have sole access, for example, to a laboratory, if that was something that was needed to be put in place, given the person's personal constraints. So I would urge people in that situation to talk to us and also to talk to their supervisor as early as we can, and we can put a comprehensive plan in place. But certainly whatever can be done will be done. And in the reality of doing laboratory research is that, for example, when you're doing an experiment, you may need to run that experiment for a 3-4 hour period. Sometimes people need to stay in the laboratory during that time, and other times they can go outside to a quiet reading area and return back into the laboratory. So we can look on an individual basis to see what needs to be done, but absolutely to reassure anybody in that situation, we can accommodate them.
All right, thank you. And a couple of last questions. One question that's come in is, do we have academic partnerships in place that would enable a PhD student to do a placement within industry or another institution?
Yes, the university has a comprehensive range of partnerships locally, nationally and internationally. So in a range of our PhD programmes currently do allow placements. So for example, we have Science Foundation Ireland funded doctorate programmes that involve a comprehensive placement experience. We also have that happening through some of our other SFI funded programmes, but also some of these can be set up day one through the Irish Research Council Enterprise Partnership, so it may allow an element of a placement. Anne mentioned earlier the Springboard initiative, and I understand that some of those also allow a placement scenario for PhD students, and Anne can expand further if needs be. But yes, comprehensively there are those opportunities available to our students. So any student who's interested should be able to get details on the website of the range of funded doctorate programs that we have available and what placements are available to them. And they're across a range of industries. And it's a very good experience for a student to have and to consider, I suppose, employment opportunities afterwards, but also to link their PhD with current industry. And those opportunities are very exciting for students. So yes, we do.
Okay, thank you. There's one last question, which you touched on briefly, but if you could just explain a bit more detail. University of Limerick is very well known for having a very impressive range of specialist library collections, and very important for some doctoral research. So will PhD students have access to those special collections?
Yes, Nigel, they will. I know from talking to the people who oversee the library that they put in place a comprehensive return to the library plan, and it involves a number of phases. And initially the phases include an appointment-based opportunity to access, for example, special collections, and over time then moving to an appropriately socially distanced approach for people accessing the library. But obviously that can absolutely be accommodated. I'm not entirely sure at the moment of the timelines, but it's in the coming weeks those plans will be put in place, but they're actively being worked on, because obviously that's a very important part of the research that happens at the University of Limerick. And as you rightly said, Nigel, we do have some very special collections, and they form the underpinnings of a number of PhD students. So we are aware of that, and making sure that is enabled is a key priority for us, and one that we're working on actively at the moment.
Okay, thank you very much. So I'd like, on behalf of all the viewers, to thank our panelists for the contribution they've made. And to you, the viewers, thank you for the questions you've sent in. I hope we've been able to address those and give a bit more clarity about the plans we're making. I think the key message here is that we have made very detailed plans to ensure both the academic quality of the programs when you arrive on campus, the support services and the social facilities that you'll have, and everything is focused on really the number one priority, which is your health and well-being. So if you have further questions, a list of the contact details will be shown on the screen shortly, and you'll be able to contact us. And we'd really encourage you to also keep an eye on the Q&A questions over the summer. So everybody stay safe, enjoy the summer break, and we look forward to seeing you in September. Thank you.